لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث رجالا كثيرا والنساء. اتقوا الله تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم وما يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن كنتم تحبون الله فاتبعوني يحببكم الله ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم وما يطع الله ورسوله والله غفور رحيم. وقال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم: من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر يقول خيرا أو يصمت. وقال: خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The ayat that I'm quoting from the Quran and the mention from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is because today, this morning, I had a discussion with a man who said he was interested about Islam. He wanted to talk to me. But as we talked for 3 hours, I discovered that he doesn't just want to talk, he wants to convert me to his beliefs. And along the way, he's willing to change what his book actually says to mean something else. As I'm giving him a proof from his own book, he said, no, it doesn't mean that. But then he wants to talk about the Quran, which he already has information. He already had the information. So what does he need me for? He want to talk about how did Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam understand the ayah in Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4. I think it was verse 167, but in that area, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us to tell the Nasrani, the Christians, Yahud, he says kitab, so it's both. Tell the Ahl Kitab that don't say 3. Don't say 3. And that would be better for them. So his question, he's saying, when Muhammad wrote the Quran, how did he understand the idea of 3? The first thing I said is he didn't write the Quran. I'm telling you, you're saying something here that's amazing because he didn't write anything. He was illiterate. He didn't read, he didn't write. We know that. This is mu'ajiza from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, he take this to another level, then he said, oh, so you don't have the answer. I said, first of all, I'm telling you, He didn't write it. He's not. He said, well, he's the author. I said, no, the author is the one who creates something. It's from Allah. Then, well, how did he understand it? I said, that one, I don't know. I wasn't there. I might look old, but I'm not that old. I don't know. I didn't ask him. How do we understand it today? Different people understand it different ways. But if you're saying three, he said, well, we don't believe God is three. I said, okay, good for you. He said, God is one, but in three persons. I said, you have three people or one? No, you don't understand. I think I do. I spent 50 years in that business, and I think I understand exactly. When you can't explain something, it doesn't really make sense, but you'll make a lot of story around it to try to cover up the fact that it really is a mistake. For us, it's simple. We'll have some children with us today, young people, and if I ask them, how many fingers am I holding? One. Very good. Now how many fingers am I holding? Now, can I tell you that this is the same as this? You didn't accept that? This is this? No. Simple. Why is it complicated? Don't say three. Now, how you want to understand that, that's up to you, but it's pretty clear. Don't say three when you're talking about God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Along the way, we run into other discussions. I'll summarize it. You don't have to listen to me for 3 hours, okay? But just to give you a taste. The book that I refer to is his book. And he's emphatic, telling me all these subjects and about Allah's Prophet. So at one point, I just said, do you have a proof anywhere in the book Isa alayhi salam is saying, I'm a God, worship me? I already know there's nothing like that anywhere in the book. In fact, the opposite is true, but he said yes. Of course. Really? It says those words. He said yes, absolutely. Those words. I said, can you tell me where? He said, yeah. Where he said, I am. I said, what? I'm asking you if he said I'm God. He said, yeah. I am means God. I am means God. Because God said in the Old Testament, I am. So when anybody in the New Testament says I am, that means he's God. He said, no. Just Jesus says it, then it becomes God. Can you help me on something else? Let's change the subject. How about if somebody tells you, I'm changing the subject, somebody tells you about something that happened a long time ago, 2,000 years ago, and he tells you that this thing that people have theories about, they don't really know. And I give you an example. Homer was very famous in Greek history. Greek and Roman history, they talk about Homer. Homer is the author of the Iliad and the Odyssey. However, according to most of the scholars that I've talked to about the language, they said it's actually from his students. Maybe he wrote something like it, but his students put his name to it, and they actually are the ones who wrote it. So, suppose we took this story and said, I'm standing here with you today, and I tell you there's no real proof for that, but in the future, way in the future, people are going to see that these documents will be evidenced and prove, no doubt, he didn't write it. And you could look at me and say, so what? So what? I mean, mean, you're saying something from before, way before, and you're saying in the future, so you didn't prove anything to me at all. Stop. But later, 1,000 years from now, somebody finds a document, exactly what I said comes true. That means what? That means you should at least listen carefully to anything else that I said, because maybe I do know what I'm talking about, true or false. Then you want to go into a subject about Homer, and I said, okay, let's just do this. In Quran, in this beautiful, precious book right here, you have an evidence of just exactly that. Because it tells us in the beautiful recitation of Quran, the story about Moses, because our friend, he kept talking about Moses and Revelation coming to Moses, talk directly to God. See, yeah, we know that. Okay. But at the time of Moses, when he goes across the Red Sea, and it's dry. They're going through the Red Sea, him and the children of Israel. Pharaoh is following him. But Allah closes the water and drowns them. Some Christians don't accept that story anymore because it's the Red Sea. How could it part like that? Some said it was the Nahar Nil, the Nile River, because sometime it might dry up. Maybe. This is an argument they have. But for sure, Quran said this is not a doubt. It's the Red Sea. They go across, and Pharaoh is drowned. Right? When he's drowning, Allah is telling the angels that he's going to preserve Pharaoh in his body as a sign. Listen here. And nobody ever messed with this. This has no versions. There's no editing. There's no changes. There are translations, but that's not Quran anymore. This is Quran telling us about Pharaoh. And it said his body is going to be preserved by Allah. In the 1980s, I think it was, before I was a Muslim anyway, there was a discovery of what they thought was a mummy in Egypt, and they invited a doctor by the name of Maurice Bucaille from France to come and examine this discovery with them. He's not a Muslim, but he's an expert in his field. That's why they brought him. And he said, this person did not die of old age. He died of drowning. Drowning. He went further though. He said, and he's not preserved in the typical, ordinary way that they used to embalm the bodies of the pharaoh. His body was preserved by the salt in the water. Which, by the way, proves what? It wasn't the Nile River, because it's not salty. But that's not the issue. The issue is, his body is preserved, and it was on tour, because I saw it in the 1980s when I visited. So they must have found the body in the 70s, come to think about it. But I saw this body on display in the Chicago Museum in 1980s, early 80s. I saw it. I was there. I went to, and I was like, okay, it's a mummy. And they said, no, this is Pharaoh, whatever, who cares? Because I didn't care. And they were telling us in the museum that this is the body of they think, the one of the time of Moses. And these are curators in a museum, nothing to do with Islam or Christianity or Judaism. They're just telling us this. When I came to Islam and I heard that, wait a minute, regardless of what you think about people, what they say, when they tell you about something that happened in the past, thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, and something connected to that will be in the future, what do you think? This is not possible. There's one thing to do a miracle people can see. They can call it magic. They can give you all kinds of excuses. Maybe he did this, maybe that. But when you refer to something that's thousands, hundreds years before you, that even the people are doubting, and you say it's going to be confirmed, and not only that, you're describing exactly his body is preserved, not in the typical way, preserved by Allah, and it is a sign, a clear sign, and I'm mentioning that sign right now to you. And it's in here. Is that enough to at least look carefully and think about what it says? At the same time, the person is talking about all of the discrepancies, all of the considerations back and forth between scholars of the Bible, criticisms, and on and on. That's why it took 3 hours. But he would give a new meaning to each thing. Finally, I came to this. I said, in your book, does it say that God is never a man? He said, no. Then he realized, wait a minute. He said, well, there is something when it says that God doesn't have the characters of man. He's God. I said, what are you talking about? He was talking about the same verse. I'll quote it to you. This is English translation from their old manuscript. It says, in the book of Numbers, chapter 23, verse 19, God is not a man that he should repent, Mektoba. God is not the Son of Man that he should turn back. The first part said he wouldn't sin, the second part he wouldn't make Torah. In other words, he's not like us. So we agree when he said it's not like us, but it says he wouldn't be a man. And he wouldn't be the Son of Man. In your book, in your Bible, it said Jesus called himself Son of Man. He said that's a different kind of Son of Man. Because it has capital S. It died. I said, okay, I need to go. Okay, thank you. Let's just go. Why? He's talking about the Hebrew language, the Aramaic language. He's talking about Semitic languages. If you know Arabic, which is in the Quran, it's the same thing. Have you ever seen a capital Aleph and a lowercase aleph? It doesn't exist. There is no capital in lowercase letters. This is only for what? Latin. So if you're going to tell me that you're going to take this S over another kind of S simply because it's what you want to believe, I need to say, Ma salama, goodbye, have a nice day. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide all of us and keep us away from these kinds of confusing discussions. Ameen. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثات بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. This Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen is our proof. I don't need more proof than the Quran for myself, for my brain, for my heart. But somebody who doesn't want to be guided, it won't guide them. It says that in the very beginning of the Quran. Who is going to be guided by this? Have you said anybody reads it will be guided? That's not what it says. It doesn't say that. From the beginning in Surah Baqarah, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Mim. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. There's two ways you can say it. You can say ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. You can say it either way because it means one way you're saying this is the book wherein there is no doubt. But you can also say this is the book without doubt, and in it is guidance. Guidance. Hudil lil muttaqin. Guidance for who? Muttaqin. Doesn't say for all of mankind, does it? The guidance is only for those who want it. If anybody wants it, they'll be guided. Allah will guide them. Here, look what Allah said in the rest of it. First of all, taqwa. Muttaqin, taqwa is to put a shield, a protection, a barrier between you and the disaster on the Yawm al-Qiyamah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ghadab is coming to the people, His punishment, you want a shield, you want to be protected. That protection in Arabic language is taqwa. And it comes from what? He's going to describe it now. He's not going to leave you alone. He's going to tell you what is taqwa. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those people who believe in the ghaib. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. They establish the salah. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And from the wealth that Allah gives them, they will do what? They will put it out. They will give from their rizq to others. We're going to be talking about that. We have been talking about it. We're going to continue talking about how much we need to help our brothers and sisters in Miami, in Texas, Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma, and now Puerto Rico. Serious stuff. But this is our chance to be part of those who have this taqwa. And Allah goes on. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. And here Allah is saying and, so it's not just or. It's not owl, it's wa. And they believe in what is sent down to you. That's meaning Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they believe in what was sent down before. We do believe in the original that came to Musa alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, to Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam. We believe in that. If we don't, we can't be a Muslim. Allah just said that. But we don't have to accept these translations any more than we have to accept the translation of Quran to English language. It's not the Quran anymore. If you translate it, mashallah, hope you did a good job with it. I know that anything that you try to translate from this Quran will have mistakes. It will have contradictions. It will be shortchanged. It will never cover the subject. It can't. It cannot. Even the khutbah I'm giving in English right now, this is da'if. It is very weak compared to the Arabic. We know that. The only benefit here is for those who don't know the Arabic language. This is the only real benefit. Or if you want to share some of the information that you have in English with somebody. But for sure, this revelation doesn't need Yusuf Estes. Doesn't need any of us. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. But Allah continues. He said, those are the people. Al-Ladina. Those are the ones who are on the Hudil al-Muttaqin. These are the people who are on the Hidayah of Allah. And he goes on to say, and they are the successful. Using the word falah, success. When we say hayya al-falah, this is the success. And this is what we pray for. We ask Allah to give all of us that. I want to turn the focus of what I'm talking about now to something that is very much in the interest of all of us. All of us would like to get reward. All of us would like to have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us and forgive us. This is what we want. And through sadaqah, which mentioned in this surah I just read to you, through giving from your rizq that Allah gives you to others, this is a very good thing. Very good thing for us to do. So they asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is the best, the very best sadaqah? He told them it's to feed the hungry when they're in need. Somebody is hungry, he's poor, doesn't have the food. This is the best sadaqah. We acted on that immediately, and when I first arrived here, that's the first thing we started talking about: food. Bananas, oranges, apples, things that were sent down. There was a truck, most of you know, we already sent a truck to Miami. We sent so much stuff. They told us, don't send any more fresh food because it won't last. They don't have electricity, there's no way to keep it. So they said, we need electricity. So this is what we're working on now, is getting the generators, the power plants. And we've had a pledge now for total 15, 16, what was the total? I think 15. Yeah, okay. So, alhamdulillah, we're working on getting a few more. We're going to send those down in the next truck, along with toilet paper. They need toilet paper. And paper towels, and wipes, and women's feminine products. That's what I'm trying to say that in a way that everybody understands. And this is something that they really need right away. So we're working on that. And many of the people who pledged have already come up with what they're going to do. And out of the 50,000 that we were hoping to raise already, I think we have about 18,000. And that's good. That we need, of course, somehow to make it, the rest of it before tomorrow, because tomorrow's the last day, inshallah. So if you want to do something today, if you want to be part of this, if you want to reward with Allah, if you want to help the people there, this is your time to do it. It's not time to talk anymore. It's not time to have presentations and pictures and all the rest of it. You already understand. Bottom line, people need something. Here's a vehicle to do it. 100%. Nobody's taking any commission. I checked this before I got involved. Nobody's pulling something out, not even 1 cent. In fact, some are putting from their own money. I'm not going to say who, but some of the people working with us are actually paying for fuel, paying for this, paying for food, even paying for food for me, alhamdulillah, so that everything reaches down there. This is a very beautiful thing if you just knew. I encourage you to think about this before you leave. I don't know where is that the boxes over there? No. Still in the car? After the salah, you'll go get it, okay? All right. So, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, Allah has given us an opportunity to get closer to Him. I don't want to forget something though. Allah made it possible. Allah made it possible for us to think about Him. Was in front of doing this? So, all of the world was watching. They were watching the TV because they were telling us Mother Nature is going to destroy all of Florida with a Category 5 hurricane. They were telling us that. They were showing us, they were giving us examples, even showing us old file videos of houses being in the water, floating away, cars underwater, and this is what to expect. It was pretty scary. I think some of you were pretty scared too. I wasn't even here, and I was worried about this. We were in California. But then, as it came closer and closer, Allah dropped it down, what they call the category 3, a 2, a 1, and even moved it off to the Gulf. Miami got pretty hit, very hard. But they weren't submerged under tons and tons of water. I mean, everybody didn't drown. The buildings didn't all wash away. There's still a place called Miami. They have a hardship, no doubt about that, and we need to do something. But even here, you just lost your lights for a while. Some trees got uprooted. Some people died, but they told me that most of the people that they saw in the morgue that were dead, actually, it appears they committed suicide. A lot of people died, but they said mostly it was suicide. Alhamdulillah for Islam. Alhamdulillah for Islam. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, alladhi ja'alna muslimin. All the praise to the one who made us Muslim. If you want to do something, this is the chance. That's my final word on that. But back to when I was talking about the Quran, our Prophet ﷺ, he said what means in English, the best of you, the best of you are those who learn, and it doesn't mean just recite, like from your brain, all you're doing is just saying the same sound somebody else said, but learning it, understanding it, applying it, putting it into practice. Learning, understanding, acting on it. This is what it means. The best of you are the ones who learn it and teach it. I ask Allah to make us of those people. Ameen. I ask Allah to keep this for our guiding light always, and keep us amongst the people of the Jannah, the people, the true people of the Salihin. Ameen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. الحمد لله. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Iqamus salat.